Welcome to another episode of Reprogram the Game. I am your host, Lynn Sanford, and in today's video, I'm going to explain to you why I absolutely love multifamily real estate. Now, first things first, there is a saying that the fastest way to become a millionaire is to acquire $1 million worth of real estate using the bank's money and pay for it over the course of the 20-30 years. Now, I'm going to read that again. The fastest way to become a millionaire is to acquire $1 million worth of real estate using the bank's money and pay for it over the course of 20 to 30 years. All this is saying is, so basically like right now, me and my partner, we're purchasing a bunch of duplexes. We call them two flats here. So you figure if the average price, $350, $375, $385, what it's worth, three duplexes, we're basically millionaires net worth wise. All you have to put down is 10%. So for $100,000, we can control $1 million worth of real estate. There's no other there's no other investment vehicle that allows you to do that. So that's the whole point of this quote. Basically, you want to become a millionaire, use other people's money, leverage the debt. All debt is not bad, only consumer debt is bad. But debt that comes with actual cash flow, that's cherry. That's what you actually want. So fastest way to become a millionaire is to acquire $1 million worth of real estate using the bank's money. If I put 10% down, I mean the bank is putting down the other 90%. And you just pay for it over time, monthly. And your actual tenant that you put in there is actually paying your debt down. So every month when they pay rent, they're actually paying your debt down. So when I first learned this concept, the ideal investment, all my life, I've always liked real estate, but just you drive by and looking like, man, that's a nice building. They kept it up. They got the tuck point on it because my grandfather had a 3-flat. He's deceased now, but it's been handed down, throughout the family. But I just like nice looking buildings, 3 flats. 4 flats, 6, 8 units, 10 units, things like that. Just when they're well kept, the hedges look nice, the grass is cut, tuck pointing is done, windows. It just aesthetically looks nice. I've always liked that. But once I really got this concept of the ideal investment, it kind of changes everything. Because if you really think about it, it's more than one way to skin a cat. You have people that invest in stocks. You got people that invest in crypto. You got people that invest in real estate. You have people that buy businesses, fix the businesses up, break them down, sell them, however they choose. So there's all kinds of investment vehicles. But when you line everything up, every investment vehicle compared to the next, there is no investment vehicle that gives you all of what real estate gives you. Now, some people say, yeah, but it takes a lot of money to get started in real estate. I mean, that may be true. It depends on what a lot of money is to you. That's relative, but it's no different than if a person wanted to buy into a franchise, a McDonald's franchise, or, Sonic, anything, Subway. That costs more money than it is to actually get started in real estate. So it's all relative. It depends on what a lot is to you. But for me, when you break all of this down of the benefits of real estate, if you look at anybody that's wealthy, they either A, made their money in real estate, or B, they made their money somewhere else, but then they took some of their earnings and put into real estate. Because that's the key. Money is a depreciating item. Every year it loses value. That's all inflation is the devaluation of that currency, of that dollar. So if you are a saver and you want to save, then of course the inflation will catch you. You can never save that much money. So you have to take the cash that's worth the most is going to be worth today when you have it and invest it into something. You're converting that money over from cash to an asset that generates cash. And then that asset is actually like a hedge against inflation, because if inflation increases, then that means it takes more dollars to buy this asset that I have. So if I got a building today that's worth $385, in 10 years, inflation has increased then it's going to take more than $385,000 to buy this asset because of inflation. So it's a hedge. So in my opinion, though, real estate is the best investment vehicle around because of all of what it allows you to do. It's a tangible asset. You can touch it. You can drive up to it. You can physically see it. It's not paper. It doesn't only exist in a computer. It's not numbers on a screen. It's real. That's why it's called real estate. So what that term, the ideal, is, it's an acronym. So the I is for income. D is for depreciation, probably one of my favorites. E is for equity. A is for appreciation, and the L is for leverage. So the income, every month, you have a tenant in there. That tenant pays you rent. That rent generates you income. This is passive income because you're not exchanging hours for it. You don't have to go swipe in at work 8 hours, swipe out. That money is coming month in and month out. D, the depreciation. This is a paper loss. So IRS actually allows you to show a loss on paper. This isn't a loss in your bank account because of the A. The property is appreciating. It appreciates in value. But what happens is, think whether you're talking about a roof, whether you're talking about flooring, whether you're talking about windows, not repairs, not you have to repair a sink, but the actual, this is called capital expenses, the CapEx items, roof, flooring, things of that nature that gets older from wear and tear. You can't depreciate the soil, the ground that it's on. You can't depreciate the 2x4s and the nuts and screws and bolts. Everything else is depreciable. So if you have like a $200,000 property, you may be able to depreciate $180,000 worth of that, which is the actual physical property itself. That depreciation, IRS allows you to show this loss on paper. And then what you do, your tax person would take this depreciation and then offset it against the income. Now, mind you, I recommend everybody talk it over with their tax professional. You really should have a tax planning strategist because, the CPA, sometimes they just do the taxes, but they're not giving you tips and tidbits on how to actually decrease your taxes. So talk it over with your tax person, the person that prepares. But this is the information that you want to give them. You want to tell them this type of stuff, that this is what you want to do. But that depreciation is a game changer because it depreciates against your income that you're bringing in. And I'll talk a little bit more in depth about depreciation as I get into later slides. The equity. This is the value that's building up in the property. So if I purchase a property, and let's say I put down 25% down payment, then now I have, some equity in that particular property, because what the value is, there's 75% left. So that equity is basically the difference. I would say, I guess it's the difference between the appreciation of the property from where you purchased it. So if you purchased it at 100,000 and now that property appreciated and is now worth 150,000, you just had $50,000 worth of equity added on to that. So just everything that I'm naming, just keep in mind, compare it to stocks, compare it to crypto. Each of these things may give you one or two of these, but nothing gives you all of these. So you may get appreciation, but you may not get the depreciation and get to write it off. So with real estate, like I said, you get the income, the depreciation, equity, the appreciation. I already talked about that. And what we do is force appreciation. So we buy properties that are below market, that need some TLC, that actually needs some work. So we may be able to buy this property for, 180,000, and it may need another 80,000 in work. But at the end of the day, then that property now will be worth $385,000. So we forced the appreciation in that property. And because another appreciation method would be just time. Over the course of time, the property is going to appreciate. It's cyclical. Properties values go up, property values go down. But by and large, over the course of long periods of time, it always goes up. So even once it goes up to a certain point, when it comes down, it's only going to go down past a certain point after you get through so much time. My parents purchased their first home It was like 1976. They bought that house for $25,000. That same house now would never go down to $25,000 now, unless it just was completely dilapidated. But just in regular condition, even if it needed some work, it'll never go down to $25,000, even in a down market, what we would consider a down market today. That same property is worth all of $230,000. Same house they got for $25,000, nothing different. And that's just what time does. So it will appreciate, but we don't like to leave the game to chance, to leave it to time appreciation. We like to get in there and force appreciation, and it's immediate. And then leverage. We already talked about it, using other people's money. The bank's money I'd rather use than my money because my money is limited. I can only, at a certain point, I'm going to run out of money. So you use other people's money, use the bank's money. They got plenty of it. They basically, other people have given them and they lend it out. So those principles right there, the income, depreciation, equity, appreciation, leverage, ideal investment is what real estate gives you. I already told you the tenant pays down your loan. So over the course of time, every month when that mortgage gets paid and they're paying their rent, you pay the mortgage and then you keep the spread. Tax benefits, even some tax-free strategies, because that's ultimately what we want to accomplish, and that's what we're working towards, is being able to generate this income. So with the rental income that we receive from tenants, that's passive income. I want to be able to have so much depreciation to where my depreciation offsets my income that I receive, whether it's from my W-2, whether it's from stocks I receive, any income that I receive from my business. I want to have enough depreciation from real estate to offset all of my income so I don't pay no tax. I want to pay zero tax. And I'm not avoiding IRS. I'm just getting tips from tax strategists on how to not pay IRS tax money. And it's completely legal. It's on the books. There's thousands of pages of the tax code is like thousands of pages, but I think only like 5 of them tell you about how to pay taxes. The remaining pages show you how to not pay taxes. It's just, it's only logical. And I would hope everybody would want to get to that point, but I can't force anybody to do something that they want to do, because IRS basically is your partner, regardless whether they're your partner or if you don't know they're your partner. And no other asset class gives you all of these things, like I said. So now, IRS being your partner, they're going to either take a third to a half of your profits, depending on what tax bracket that you're in, depending on if you're single, depending on if you're married, filing joint, married, filing separate, head of household. I worked at a tax office for like 20 years. I was a manager at a tax office. I wasn't the one that did the taxes. But the lady whose office it was, she didn't work in the office. She worked at a house. So when clients would come in or call in, I would be the one to talk to them. So then they would have questions. And what she did, she basically trained me on a lot of the law of the way the tax program worked. So now when people call in, I've done this for enough years to where I know, hey, can I write off my interest from my credit card? Well, no, blah, blah, blah. So I knew a lot of the answers to a lot of the questions. So I do understand exactly how this works, but I'm not a tax professional. So I'm not the one that would actually do the taxes. So I go to people that are smarter than me in this particular area, and I stick to my area. So I know IRS, depending on what tax bracket you're in, they're going to take a third to a half of your profits, but you can get it down to, like I say, as little as zero, but you get to decide, and you have to actually plan those strategies. So people or businesses that create jobs or housing, the government gives you tax breaks. That's just the way it is. They give you tax breaks. And like I say, we use a tax planning strategist to give us pointers and tips and say, okay, yeah, well, now you need to do this. Okay, well, you got this much coming in. Okay, well, what you need to add this, or you need to do this. And that way we get to lower our tax obligation. So what the government does, they incentivize us. They incentivize you by allowing you to accelerate depreciation. So how depreciation works, what most people do is the straight line depreciation method. So that same amount of depreciation will be deducted from the value of that asset for every year. of its useful life, which, like I say, most of the time it's like 27 and a half years. So what'll happen is it'll be a smaller amount, but it'll be an incremental amount. It'll be that same amount every year rolled over from year to the next. So let's say it's $1,000. So you'll have $1,000 of depreciation this year to offset against $1,000 of income. Next year, you'll have another $1,000 to offset the income. And the year after that, you'll have another $1,000 of income until it's exhausted, until you either run out of depreciation or the 27 and a half years is up. Well, that's cool, but what if you have more than $1,000 or whatever your depreciation amount is? So remember, in the example I gave, if you had $180,000 worth of depreciation, then whatever that incremental amount of that 180,000 is, so let's, like I say, if it's $1,000, then you'll do that $1,000 until that 180,000 is gone. No. Give me that whole $180,000 in this tax year. So if I'm doing, it's January 2023 now. If I'm doing if I'm doing my 2022 taxes, then I want to be able to write off that entire $180,000 of depreciation. And that will wipe out $180,000 worth of income. So if I only had $180,000 worth of income and I use this $180,000 of depreciation, I pay zero taxes because the depreciation wiped out, it offset the income. And I know somebody is thinking like, well, but if I do that, I'm showing zero income. What if I wanted to go get a loan from the bank? That depreciation is basically a ghost expense. So then what you'll do, they have to, whoever that lender is, they have to add that $180,000 of depreciation back to your income. And then now you're able to qualify for the loan. So it gives you the best of both worlds. Real estate is awesome. You can't do that with stocks. You can't do that with crypto. And then so basically what I just described, being able to take that entire 180,000, that's called cost segregation, where you just take all of your, depreciation that you're allowed to take in that particular tax year. And then the next year you got more income, then you just go get more real estate and offset again. So that's how I like to do it. There's another saying, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. For those reasons, it's going to appreciate over time. But if you're able to force appreciation when you come in, you get to capture your money back immediately, and then you can wait over the course of that time, as opposed to waiting for the perfect opportunity. It'll never be a perfect opportunity. Did you know this? It's easier for you to get a loan. It's easier for me to get a loan to buy an apartment than it would be to buy a house. I would have more buying power because what they're going to do, the lender is going to add the income that I would generate from this property. So if it's a two-bedroom, a two-flat, a duplex, 2 units, they're going to add the income from those units to my income. So if I make $100,000 and this property would generate $100,000 in that year, that's $200,000 of income. And then whoever the mortgage person is would have a formula they use and would show how much money you would qualify for from the lender on the loan. So example, if I was buying a single family home, I may qualify for $250,000 house. But if I was buying a 2-flat, that number may be bumped up from 250 to 325. If I was buying a 3-flat, it may be bumped up even more because now you're talking about 3 units. So now that may be 400,000 and so forth. Another thing I should tell you too is that residential and commercial real estate. So in the beginning, I said I love real estate. That's just the overall arching point. But real estate can be broken down into a lot of different ways. It can be broken down into residential. It can be broken down into commercial. Residential is anything 4 units or less. So single family, duplex, triplex, fourplex. Those are all considered residential. Residential is valued from comps. So things within a certain mile radius of like build. So same amount of bedrooms, same amount of bathrooms, brick, frame, comparable. So things in that area within a certain mile radius that's comparable what they're worth in their similar type conditions. That's residential real estate. Commercial can be office, it could be doctor, it could be warehouse, it can be self-storage, it could be multifamily apartments, it could be multitude of different things, and that would be anything from 5 units and above. What dictates what commercial is dictated by net operating income, which will be how much your income is you make from it versus the expenses. So you just take the income minus the expenses and then multiply that times 12. Everything in commercial goes by the year. You know, they don't break it down to how much you make a month when you're doing your totals. It'll go by the year. So if it makes $1,000 a month, then you multiply that times 12. So that's $120,000 a year net operating income. And then they have that valuation. So yeah, okay, it's worth this, whether it's like 10 times more or whatever. Okay, so yeah, it's $2 million building. So that's kind of the difference. So when I say I love real estate as a whole in terms of an investment vehicle. I do love multifamily for its own reasons. I also like mobile home parks. That's commercial real estate as well. And I like self-storage. So those are the niches that I'm going to eventually move into as well, the mobile home parks and the self-storage, because they have their own challenges separate from multifamily apartments, but then they have advantages over multifamily apartments as well. You're not dealing with tenants, you know, it's a smaller amount, lesser amount of money per month, but you don't have as much of the headache. So everything has an advantage, disadvantage. But I just kind of wanted to lay that out there. So like I say, the lender is going to add the income from the units to your income, which is going to give you more buying power. Also, multifamily gives you more opportunities. So it's a lot of people that purchase single family homes and then they like to rent them out. I don't like using single family homes as rentals. I may do it possibly as like an Airbnb, but as far as a year lease for somebody, because that only gives me one shot. That one person is responsible for 100% of my income from that property. And now if that person stops paying, or if that person moves out, now it's vacant, I'm getting zero. And now it's on me to come out of my pocket. That's not a good business model to me. But a duplex, now I got 2 shots. Each unit now, instead of being worth 100%, is each worth 50%. So when one unit is vacant, the other unit is occupied, still paying the bills, I don't come out of pocket, you know, so that's even better. 3 units, you know, 4 units, you know, now you're talking about 20. So the more units you get, the more shots, the more opportunities you get, because each unit now is worth a smaller and smaller chunk of the whole, which gives you more opportunities. So even if you got a 100-unit property and it's 90%, you know, occupied, only 10% vacant, you still are very good considering if you bought it right. So it gives you more buying power, and that's just another benefit of the multifamily. Now, what a bank will and won't lend. And like I say, I understand there's more than one way to skin a cat. But if you wanted to buy $100,000 worth of stock, can you go to the bank and say, yeah, I want to buy $100,000 worth of stock. I'm going to put down 10% and then the bank will pay the other 90% for this stock? It's not going to happen. They won't even do that if you're trying to buy their own bank stock. So if you go to Chase and try to get Chase to loan you $90,000 to buy $100,000 worth of Chase stock, they won't even lend you money to buy their own stock, let alone to buy any type of stock, because that's not, they understand the risk. Banks understand that real estate is real property. So therefore, that's something that if a person reneges, they can take that, short sale it off or whatever they want to do with it, but it's real, it's tangible. They'll loan out to that. But if I wanted to buy $100,000 worth of real estate, put down 10%, put down that 10 grand, and I control $100,000 worth of property. Conversely, $1 million worth of property, $100,000 down, and you in there. So just always keep that in the back of your mind. I know that's what I keep in the back of my mind when I'm looking at other, because it's always a new shiny opportunity coming, you know, all type of e-commerce and whatever it is. And I'll get into all of those things, but the underlying structure of the way I have my business set up will always be based through the real estate, because this is the vehicle that I'll use in order to offset all the other income that I'll bring in. Your two biggest expenses are taxes and interest that you're paying on consumer debt, whether it's interest on a credit card, on a car note, on your own personal mortgage at your house. If you can, man, next time when you get a chance, just write down all the interest you're paying, whether it's from a credit card, whether it's the interest on your home, whether it's the interest on your vehicle, and look at how much that comes out to be in a year. And then look at the amount of taxes that was taken out from federal, and if you're in a state that takes state taxes, how much that, and just total that up and look, and $20,000, $40,000, some people be up to $100,000, whatever that amount is. And imagine, man, if I kept this in my pocket and was able to invest that amount, how much more would I have? And then compound that over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. It's unfathomable to where you can be, where I could be, or where we would be had we known what we know now. So money earned from real estate investing is passive income. So it's taxed at a lower rate than earned income. Earned income is going to be the highest tax, hands down. So you have three different types of income. You got earned income, you have portfolio income, and then you have the passive income. So your portfolio will be like stuff like stocks, interest, royalties, things like that. Your passive income is going to be from your real estate, things like that. Your earned income is going to be your job, I believe, like business, things like that. So you want to be able to ultimately leave the earned income and convert all your income to a passive income in terms of the way it's taxed. That's where we all want to ultimately get to. But it's nothing wrong. Some people poo-poo on having a job. Oh, man, money is a resource. Use that job. Use that money to invest in the things that you want to invest in so that you don't have to stay at that job. You don't want to. I'm not trying to work 40 years and retire. A couple guys just retired from my job, and they gave them watches. They got a watch. They got to stand there and take a picture with the union rep and all this stuff. That's cool if that's what you want, but they put in 33 years. I'm not trying to work 33 years for that, and then now I'm living off 80% of what I was making when I was working. So if you don't have anything set up on the side in addition to that, then these guys have to retire and then go work part-time jobs just to kind of fill in the gaps. So you retire from one job to go work another job. That's not what I'm on. So that's just me. But that's the ultimate goal, is to convert the income over from earned income to convert it more over to passive income. Now here are a couple more tax-free strategies that you get with real estate that you don't get with other vehicles. And I know a lot of people like crypto because they're, the dollar will go away. But now what you're talking about is a hedge. That's all it is. They're using it as a hedge against the devaluation of a dollar. Gold can do that. And I'm talking about real gold bullion. I'm not talking about some gold stock, some number in a computer. Real gold bullion, silver, the precious metals like that, that'll do the same thing as well. And it's, so I never got on the crypto train, and I may miss out on something big, but I'm just gonna have to miss out on it. That's not my lane, so. But a cash out refinance and a 1031 exchange are just a couple of real estate strategies for tax-free profits. So what a 1031 exchange is the government will allow you to defer the proceeds you have. So if I do a flip, buy a property for a cheap amount, put a few dollars in it, fix it up, sell it for a higher amount, and I make a profit, so if I make 50 grand, the government is going to want it. They're going to want to tax me on that 50 grand, because they're looking at it as a capital gain. It's a capital gain tax. Why would I give them money from my 50 grand when I can just take that 50 grand, never touch it, just roll it over into a property of equal or greater value? Now I can put that 50,000 down on a multi-unit property, and I never have to pay tax on it until I sell and don't use a 1031 exchange, but all you do is just keep kicking the can down the road. 1031 exchange again, into another bigger, better property. 1031 exchange again to another bigger, better property. So eventually I would pass away and be deceased, and then my descendants or whoever my beneficiaries will receive the property. At that point, they're getting the property at the current market value, so there is no capital gain, so they pay zero tax on that. So that's a strategy like a lot of wealthy people use, 1031 exchanging. Cash out refinance basically lets you do that same thing, just a little more immediate. So if I purchase this property, this is our exit strategy for the two flats, the duplexes that we purchase. We purchase them for a cheaper amount, put a little money into it, fix it up, and now we forced appreciation. So now that property is worth more. And then we would refinance the property. So what we use is hard money, which is a higher interest rate. So the interest rate may be 10%, so we're using this 10% money. We're paying the mortgage on it. Once we have it rehabbed and we got leases, now we go and we refinance it. And now we can get it down maybe to, depending on the interest rate, 5%, 6%, or whatever interest rates are at that particular time. And then we cash out. So we'll get 75% of whatever the new value is. So whatever that new value is, so if let's say it's 100,000, just dealing with easy numbers, then we would get 75,000. We still have 25% of equity in it, so it's still 25,000 of value left in that property. But we took the 75,000, we cashed out. Now that's a loan. I don't pay tax on the $75,000 because it's a loan. But we're able now to pay off the old loan, and then we keep the difference. And then so basically that gives us our money back. So if we had to put down $25,000 and now we cash out refi, and after all of the old loans and everything gets paid off, and then now we got 25,000 left over, then we got our 25,000 out that we put in to purchase this property, and we go buy another property. And that's how you just keep recycling that same money tax free. You get your money out that way. So it's just a couple of little tidbits. So I try to give people action steps because, like I say, anybody that wants to get into this, that's the people. I just want to help tell you my story, and then maybe you could use some things that I went through and learn from them, and it may help you on your journey. It may give you confidence to actually go and take that route. So anybody that's looking to get into real estate, then this is for you. This is an action step for you. And if I had it to do all over again, this is what I would do. I did it backwards previously. So what I did, I purchased my single family home first, my personal residence. I purchased that first. Then later on in life, I eventually got into the investing into real estate. But if you look at it, so let's say if you're going through, let's say you get an FHA loan. FHA will allow you to put down like 3.5%. That's even less than the 10%. You're putting down 3.5%, but it's probably a lesser cost property, a lesser, property purchase price. If you look at it, so if it's a $100,000 property, so like here in Chicago, in our area, you can get 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, $250, somewhere in there. But the property that I bought was a 3 bedroom, 1 bath. So mortgage on that might have been 80 grand, 110 grand, 120,000. So you're talking about a lesser amount of money, 3.5% put down on. But what if I did it in reverse? This is what I would do now. I wouldn't purchase the single family home. I would go purchase the 2 flat or the 3 flat and put the 3.5% down on that, on a bigger amount of money. Because the way I did it, if I put down 3.5% on a $100,000 property, now when I go to invest and I have to put down 20% or whatever it turns out to be on a $350,000 property, that's a lot more money that you have to come up with up front. But if I would do it again, I would do it in reverse. I would put the 3.5% down on the $350,000 property, live in a unit, and then rent out the other 2 units or 1 unit, depending on if you're getting a duplex or a triplex. That's what I would do now. I would buy something that needed a little work, fix it up, live in 1 unit, rent the remaining units out. then I would refinance and cash out, and then I would take that and then I would go buy more property with it. But doing it that way, I'm living rent free. And I'm not gonna lie to the bank. They'll know that I'm gonna live in it, because I'll have to, if you live in something for 2 years, then you're able to now sell that property at a certain point without paying tax on it, because that's your primary residence. And I believe it's within a 5-year span. And like I say, always talk with your tax professional. But I believe is if you stay in a property for 2 years within a 5-year span, and it doesn't even have to be consecutive. It could be a year here, and you could be gone for 3 years and come back to another year. I believe if you live in a residence, it's got to be 2 years when you live in it. You sell it, no tax for your capital gain. Now, when you leave, you can purchase your new home that you want to live in, your new residence, but now you still have this asset. And the asset now is generating even more money, because now you're out of a unit and you're able to rent that unit out as well. And it's just a much more efficient way. Doing it all over again, that's what I would do. So my suggestion to you would be, if you're a person that's in a position, you don't have a home yet, a primary residence yet, you're renting, or you still stay with a parent or a loved one, and you have the means to be able to make a purchase, my suggestion, I submit to you that I would look at a duplex or a triplex, live in a unit, rent the other units out, and now you're able to come with a smaller down payment on a bigger amount of money, and you get more bang for your buck. And these are all the reasons why I absolutely love real estate, and even more specific, multifamily real estate. And I hope you guys got a lot out of this, and I hope it kind of pushes you if you do want to step into the arena of real estate and get into it. Like I say, self-storage is sweet. Mobile home parks is sweet. Multifamily apartments is sweet. It depends on your taste and what you want to do. And again, I'm not trying to convince people, but I do want to give you the game and give you the other side of the coin, because even if you're in stock, if you're a stock person, you're gonna need something to offset that income that you're receiving from your portfolio income from those stocks. So real estate is the best option for you. It's going to give you something that you can't get from anywhere else. Like I say, I'm just here to spark that thought. That's it. That's all. I've walked through certain doors. I got more doors that I'm going to walk through. And as I walk through them, I'm going to give you the game. I'm going to give you the keys to the doors. It's just up to you to open them. That's it. So, man, if you like what you saw and you feel it could help somebody else, like it, share it, and, subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you on the other side.